Welcome everybody to episode 5 of Cut to the Jase. We've got another big episode. I know we say it every week, but a huge weekend in basketball. We have imports getting sacked, Jase. We have teams getting absolutely pumped on the NBL court. We have upsets, and then biggest of all this week, we've got the WNBL coming this weekend. And along the lines of the WNBL, we've got a very special guest on tonight in Opal's superstar, Washington Mystics guard in Jade Melbourne, and also Canberra Capitals superstar. So it should be another big episode, mate.
No, and obviously, I don't want to say it every week, another big week, but it has been. And it's kind of the nature of the NBL this year specifically. Like, there's so many really good teams that when someone is kind of off or a bit hurt or got stuff going on, it just gets shown out really quickly. And so it's another interesting, week of NBL. And then also WNBL, like, we're going to talk about it with Jay tonight, but the rebrand, the new ownership, like, they've had so much go on this off-season. I think it's an exciting time, but it's also, like, for me, it's a great chance for those girls to kind of push it how they want to push it now. It's kind of theirs to take a hold of and see where they can take it and run with it, which is exciting.
For sure, and I'm fortunate enough to be part of it with the Bendigo Spirit, and I'm really excited for our game this weekend. But the season couldn't get started in a bigger way, of course, than the Canberra Capitals and Jade Melbourne taking on the South Side Melbourne Flyers at John Cain Arena this Saturday to get the season started. An epic game, and hopefully they can fill out John Cain Arena, but that should be huge. And Jason, I wanted to start the show with that. Now, obviously, you've spent a lot of time in the NBL and with the Boomers and everything, but you're passionate about Australian basketball, and you have so many relationships with players on the women's side in the Opals and WNBL and everything. What's it like for you to see the changes that have come in this year? We spoke about the historic new CBA, which is amazing for women's basketball in this country, and we have some of the best athletes who probably haven't been treated like that in the past, but that's going to happen. We have, the rebrand, and the WNBL looks spectacular in that way. And we have the new ownership group, and of course, Den Holm and the NBL group led by Larry Kesselman taking over. And we know the biggest thing he's done since he's taken over the NBL is marketing, which is what these girls need. They're superstars, so they need to have that on a bigger platform. But just from your point of view, what's it like seeing all these changes for women's basketball in Australia?
I have deja vu. Of my first few years in the NBL were in my mind, and maybe even before my first few years, was the last few years in WNBL. Getting harder to keep track of what's kind of going on. Even as a basketball person who's kind of always known what's happening in the WNBL, whether I was watching games or just had an idea, I felt like that became harder the last few years. And then all of a sudden this rebrand and Larry coming in with the crew that is to take over, I just think it was needed. I think it's going to give it the facelift it needs instantly. I think it'll be easier to keep track of. It'll be easier for us as a sport to put the girls back first. And you got to go back. WNBL has been one of the best women's league, if not the best women's league we have in Australia. The talent that comes through there that ends up going play overseas, like, it's been notorious for developing talent and helping talent go, and it's also been notorious for helping our Australian women's program excel internationally. So I actually felt like the last few years, as harsh as it is, it's almost lost its way. And it's just been by no fault other than it needs some juice behind it. It needs someone to come in with a fresh look on it. And ultimately what Larry did was he came and put some money into it as well and said, I actually believe in this product when he took over the NBL. I'm going to put some money into it. I'm going to put my flavour on it and what I think it needs. And I think that's where the WNBL is at. And so for me, it's an exciting time. Like, I think you don't come in and rebrand a league like this if you don't have big plans and you don't believe in the product. And that for me is why this is exciting. And I'm excited for the girls to get some of the credit they do deserve, because we have great imports come out here. We have great Australian talent that plays all over the world. And now hopefully we can see that start to shine again and really push our women's league back to what it is. And that's the best women's league in the nation.
Now, you spoke about there is going to be some immediate changes, and that's going to be pretty evident early on with things like the TV deal on 9 Now, and of course ESPN and Disney as well. But, I spoke to Andrew Bogut about this at the start of the year, and, through the experience of the NBL, expecting it to sort of be not a slow burn, but also a progress, to see where the NBL has got to today. What was it like for you seeing, from where Larry's taken over and seeing some signs in those first couple of years to what it is now? Can they expect it to be a bit of a progress in that sort of way?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect wholesale changes and all of a sudden they're walking into a completely new place. But I think from my memory of when that took over, you could feel a difference instantly in terms of there was improvement in certain areas around the game, certain game day experiences even, you could notice a bit of that. And then I think just the broadcast and what was being put around it, you could see the wheels in motion. Now, obviously, it did take 3, 4, 5 years for that to really start to tick over. And now you look at where the NBL is at. But I do think because of what the product is and the talent, like the WNBL's never struggled to get the talent from around the world, whether it be WNBA imports coming out here to play. We've obviously seen the big Chinese girl just signed with Perth. Our own WNBA girls normally always come back and play. So the talent is there in terms of our overseas talent. So I think that will help give it the sugar hit it needs early, whilst also understanding that it is going to take some time. But I think the girls will feel the framework going around it and feel like just this overall, like, okay, this is going where we want it to go. This is actually getting to what we think it can. We can see improvement straight away.
Now, do you think the biggest thing with that? I remember, back in the early days of when Larry took over the NBL, which what you're talking about, there were still a lot of Australians playing over in Europe and that sort of thing. Whereas now they're either basically in the NBL or in the NBA. And now we see, some of our superstar women, the likes of Alana Smith, Ezzy Magbagor are playing in that unrivaled league. And then, we've lost Sammy Wickham and the league's lost Sammy Wickham to a big offer in Turkey and stuff like that. And, obviously for their livelihood and that, they've got to take those sort of offers. Is the biggest step you think going forward to build it to a point where that isn't happening and we've got all of, our superstars playing here, especially because it's during the WNBA off season?
Yeah, I think you got to have some understanding that you're not going to, in the foreseeable future, you're not going to be able to challenge what some of those incomes are and what those offers are overseas. It's not possible, and it's not even possible in the men's side, men or women, regardless. Some of the money that flies around in some of those leagues, it's just not possible to match. Now, the thing with the girls, they go from WNBA into those European seasons, it becomes long and hard, where that refresher of coming back to Australia in not as long, sometimes not as tough conditions, you get to live in Australia. I think that's where the enticement can come, that if the money slowly improves to a place where the girls can actually say, well, hang on a second, it is worth coming home for the conditions, and the money actually measures out to be something that I'm really comfortable with, and I don't want to go overseas now. I think we can get to there, but we also have to understand is, as we see across the world right now in multiple sports, there's different leagues popping up, there's different ranges of money popping up, and if you're an athlete right now, you have to be switched onto that because it's a forever changing scenarios, and you don't want to miss out on some of those opportunities because it is money that feeds families and can feed families for multiple years.
I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to with this, to be honest, is the marketing side, which I said has been an issue in the WNBL before. Now, I use this example quite a lot. There was a grand final series a while ago. It was Melbourne Boomers and Perth Lynx, and there was no social media post in the lead up to game one of the grand final series. There was a bit of an uproar about it. And then I remember this first social media post lead up to game two was the two male coaches going head to head. Now, it's probably a little bit tone deaf as far as the promotion that the league needs. But I think, with the marketing prowess, I guess, that the NBL group and everything has, we have the likes of Jade Melbourne, who we have on tonight, and we can put them as faces as a league and, encourage sort of young girls that these girls can be their idols and everything. So I think we've got the personalities and players there, like you said, Jase. It's just about putting them on the pedestal a little bit, getting them the exposure that they need, and that can sort of create growth in the game as well.
And I think, too, the other part you've got to remember is the greatest thing that's happened to the NBL with the marketing is we've also shown the ability for people to go NBL to NBA. We've shown people in a country that loves overseas sport more than our own, in terms of AFL and NRL don't have any competition overseas. Your soccers, your basketballs, all your worldwide sports, there's competition in Europe, in America, and unlike a European, like a team in Greece, they might love the NBA, but they love their home team first. Australia has a little bit of the, oh, but I'm a Lakers fan. Now, a lot of people are starting to see, well, hang on a second, the product in Australia is really good. And I do love the NBA, but I also love going to an NBL game, and I now love Melbourne United or the Sydney Kings. I think now you can start to see that with the women more, because a Jade Melbourne will go and guard Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, and then she'll come back and be playing for Canberra. So you can genuinely see that. And the Caitlin Clark effect, which I'm going to ask Jade about tonight, that's been across all basketball, but women especially. Now, how I think they've handled some of that is different, but that effect is real, and it's real amongst any gender, any person, whoever you are. And so I think that's what can tie in to the WNBL is we could start to see what we do with marquee players. Where do we start to take that? How much does it cost for a Caitlin Clark to play WNBL for 3 months? I'm just throwing these things out there, but that's where the NBL went with the marquee player rule and NBA players. It'll be very interesting what some of these WNBL teams can do over the next few years.
Yeah, a lot of interesting points around the WNBL, as you mentioned, Jase. And, the season's starting this weekend. Interesting again to see the crowds and everything they get, but just looking forward to it. And on that note, we'll go to our chat for the episode with Washington Mystics, Opals, and Canberra Capital star, Jade Melbourne. Yeah, welcome back to Cut to the Jase, episode 5. And tonight we have a very special guest in the lead up to the start of the 25-26 WNBL season is Australian Opals, Washington Mystics, and Canberra Capital star, Jade Melbourne. Jade, welcome to Cut to the Jase.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting.
Jade, so obviously, well, you've been busy here, there, and everywhere, but when we talk WNBL for now, this is probably in your time playing, it definitely is the biggest WNBL season we've seen. We've got a new CBA, we've got new ownership groups in place, we've even got a couple of new team names and new logos, and then to start it all off, Canberra play Southside Flyers at John Cain Arena. How do you feel now being, because ultimately you are one of the face of the league now, how do you feel about this season going on?
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't be more excited. I think even it's already started. The new ownerships come in, new CEO, new logos. I think they all look unreal too, by the way. So we didn't get one, but shout out to all those teams that did. I think they look really good. The WNBL new logo, but they've all come in and mean business. And like we've already seen a preseason tournament, which we haven't seen in the past. So even that, I'm like, okay, like this is going to be an unreal year. So to kick it off at John Cain against Southside, two, powerhouse kind of clubs. I can't wait for it, to be honest. I think it's an arena that I've grown up watching the Melbourne United, Southeast Phoenix, and never had the opportunity to play there myself. So to have a statement game to open up the year, I think is really cool. And, it'd be awesome if we make it the new norm. And I think, this ownership group and the way women's basketball is going, we have every possibility to. But no, I couldn't be more excited. I got folks coming down from Traralgon, and I can't wait to see them all hopefully break a record to start the season. And just looking forward to hopefully starting our campaign too off on the right foot.
No, 100%. And John Cain Arena, just to let you know, is maybe my favourite arena in Australia in terms of, for some reason, whenever I walked in there, I felt like I always shot the ball better. So
right.
if you feel the same way I did, I could just start to bet Jade Melbourne 30 points game 1. Perfect.
I'll let you know Sunday. how I feel about it.
Perfect. I can't wait. So I guess the next part to that for me is, as one of our country's brightest talents, because that's what you are, you go on WNBA to WNBL, and so now it kind of just gets thrown on you a little bit of that expectation to WNBL as well. How do you see all these changes in terms of, for the players, for you girls, what do you think the biggest thing you're going to take out of this new environment you're walking into?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the biggest change for us is like for the first time ever, more people than not, this can be a full-time job, and I think that's super exciting. So the talent and, the league in general is only going to get better with, more girls being able to, stick around after practice to put half an hour of shots up because they don't have to rush off to uni or they don't have to rush off to work. Like, it's the first time where rosters are full with, girls that can dedicate, their whole livelihood to the team and to basketball. So I think in general, we've just seen a huge step in that case. We've got physios now full time at practice, and it almost becomes a responsibility now for us to, we've been given these opportunities and take full advantage of it and run with it. I think we have a responsibility now to, pay it back to the owners and the CBA people and everyone that's negotiated and those people in the past that have, paved the way for us. But we now have that responsibility now to carry basketball in Australia in the right direction. And I think all the clubs are doing a fantastic job. Like, I can only speak for the Caps, but they're doing a fantastic job in terms of like game day entertainment, getting us what we need, listening to feedback. Like, we're seeing like more and more things presented to us, like even just little things like food after games, like that's becoming a thing. So I think the fact that we're getting treated now as professional athletes and moving in the right direction, it's on us now to take responsibility and get better and grow the league. And if we can all do that together, I think that's going to continue to grow. But the changes that we've made so far, I think, are unbelievable. And if we continue to head in this path, I think the WNBL's on a great, going in a great direction and only going to get better as well.
I said right before we jumped on that I think this is the perfect opportunity for the girls to take it and run with it and evolve it how you see fit, which is exciting. And even I said I got deja vu at the moment for the WNBL because there was a time, my first few years in the league before Larry really took over, I was on one trip with Adelaide. I remember taping half our team because I knew how to tape, and I got told how to tape someone Shench's shoulder, someone else's knee. So like for me, it actually is like we're seeing history repeat itself a little bit. Like, it sounds stupid, but having a full-time physio and people on the road like that makes a massive difference. And it's the little things of being able to get on the road and go get a niggle taken care of just if you have to, rather than have to seek it. So I think funny you say that, because I did say deja vu before, and now the more you talk, I am definitely seeing deja vu with some of those like things that make a massive difference for you trying to be a professional.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't believe that. That's a funny story. But even us, like, we used to go on the road and you'd get a physio. Say you went to Adelaide, you'd get a physio from Adelaide, and it's like you're reiterating what you've just told your last physio. Then they're taping you different to the next physio, and like something like that just makes such a difference. And all these little things, like we really fought for it in this current CBA that we're in, and you kind of sound like you just kind of you're carrying on a little bit because you're like, oh, like, is it really that big of a deal? But these are the little things that add up over time. So now that we have access to it, we're getting treated as full professionals, and, can be like, yeah, I am a professional athlete. I'm not just somebody that, plays basketball on the side. I think that's really cool for us to now embrace it. And like you said, run with it because we're doing all the right things. So let's keep it rolling and let's take responsibility and make sure it keeps going in the right direction.
No, 100%. And within that network, right? So the Opals, now that you've been a part of the Opals, you've seen what that kind of sisterhood, teamwork, chemistry, whatever you want to call it. There's so many names you could call that. You've seen how strong it is and how much that's now transferred down throughout the WNBL, especially when you talk CBAs. Obviously you have opponents and everyone wants to beat everyone. Once the games are on. But do you have a crew within that kind of WNBL now where you can kind of lean on each other so when these negotiations take part, there's a certain crew that normally speaks up. I've seen it in the NBL. Do you have that similar thing in the WNBL? And do you find yourself now, even though you're young and on your journey, do you find yourself a part of that?
Yeah, I was 21 in these CBA negotiations. I was like, guys, I don't know enough about the league. Like, I'm still trying to find my feet. I'm trying to figure this all out. But no, I think, and you've probably worked with them, the Players Association, I think, do a fantastic job. And they really got a core group of WNBL players from all different age groups, people that are willing to share their voice, people like me who are potentially going to play in this league for the next 10, 15 years, hopefully. And we really got together, and I think all the delegates too, like, we can lean on one another, like, they're willing to put might be going on at their club, so then like other people are then willing to say, hey, like, that's happening at ours, can we make an adjustment here, can we fix that? And I think the power of, everyone kind of leaning on one another, I think, is really good. So we have a group chat, there's 16 people, 2 delegates from each from each club, and we can really kind of, help each other out. And it's good to sometimes, they might be complaining about something without sharing too much because they don't want to like try and put their club, under the bus or anything. But the fact that we can lean on each other is cool, and we're only, as good as each other. And if we can continue to empower each other and lift each other up in that sense, I think is really good. But yeah, being part of the negotiations were great. The people that were willing to share their voices and opinions were really good. The strong minds, and I don't think without the players' voice, the Players Association would have had the power they did in the negotiations. And shout out to the ownership group and that for coming to the party and agreeing with it, because we did ask for a lot, but that to me shows that they're keen, they're serious, and that's all we can ask for as players.
No, exciting times, 100%. So let's get to Canberra.
Yep.
You've been there since your whole time the WNBL has been with the Canberra Caps. My good mate, who was my AIS assistant coach, Paul Goris, is the head coach. Absolute legend of a person. I'm sure you've had offers elsewhere, but why Canberra? Why is that kind of your place?
Yeah, I think for me, Canberra was my first opportunity. Goz called me one night. I was still in year 12. He figured out with the school for me to finish my exams up in the hub season. And if it wasn't for him, giving me that opportunity, I would have been at Arizona State University and been a college kid. So it was just kind of like right time. I verbally committed there, but kind of proved myself in the hub season. And obviously a unique situation. There's no imports. There was a few injuries in my team. Get to start first game, get a really cool opportunity. And I think I wasn't a studious kid. So the college system probably wasn't for me. But at the end of the day, it felt like the pathway. But once I got the opportunity with Canberra, I remember we played in the semi-final in the hub season and lost. And ever since then, I've just been keen to be in the WNBL. But now as you kind of get to know the club, get to know the people, I'm kind of a loyal person, and now I just want to win a championship, and Goz is there, and we've brought in the right pieces. But for me, I've kind of never been someone that quits, and like the last couple of years have been hard. We've seen like a coaching swap at one stage. We've seen, players come in and out of the system because they've sought other opportunities in Europe, and I've never got to build something. So now after last year, I obviously had the opportunity to explore free agency, but I thought, nah, I'm doubling down. Like, I feel like this is a year we can make something happen. And I get to look at 9 banners at every practice, every game. And something that I really want to do is add the 10th. So I'm in a cool position. The club backs me. I back the club. We've brought in a really star-studded roster. And would love to really see myself win a championship in the team that gave me my first opportunity.
No, 100%. A lot of history in Canberra, for sure. So then the next part to that, you said it just yourself. You brought in some recruits, and obviously Sarah Blickovs, another AIS friend of mine,
Yep.
and Zatina. You've added some people and some experience to your group. How has that shifted? So you spoke about last year and then the additions, and you've been able to build.
Yep.
What's that shifted for the group mentality going into this year?
Just in general, the whole maturity in the group is just so different. We recruited like older players as well, and I think the coolest thing is we also have a really young, exciting core that we were able to retain. Like Monique Babongi stayed, Nadia Poch stayed, Nicole Munger stayed, Jada Clark came back from an ACL. She was around the group last year, so a lot of people knew what we're doing. And then we just brought in people that have leadership experience in Sarah. We brought in someone who's a star like Zatina. We brought in an import, Cadee Sissoko, who is kind of like going to be a dark horse in the league. No one knows much about her, but girl can play. So it's going to be really fun to play with her. So I think that the intention going into the off season was to surround ourselves with people, because it's kind of hard when you're 22 years old, say last year, and you're expected to be the vet and the leader of the group. I think people that I've gone to the AIS with are like, oh, it's just Jade at the end of the day. And you know what you get up to at the AIS. Like, you do some dumb stuff. Like, how do you now expect them to, listen to me and be the leader of the group? So I think, that can be hard for a few people, and it makes total sense. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to respect someone I went to the AIS with that much as well. But then bringing in people that have, respected names, older heads, wise, mature, I think that's been really good for our group. And it's brought the best out of the young girls as well, and we've just seen such a shift. Like, Goz isn't coaching effort; he's coaching basketball, and I think that was a really big thing last year as a young group. Like, we didn't quite quite understand until the end, like what it takes to be a finals contending team. But we've got people that have done it before. We've got people that have played at the high level, and that's been the biggest shift for me. Like going into round one, like we're super ready, everyone's keen, and yeah, it's just it's the maturity and the IQ of this group that I think is going to be really good and take us however far we can go.
You're right too. Leadership sometimes can get thrown on you when you're kind of not ready for it, but I guarantee you'll be better for it
100%.
having gone through it. And now bringing in the older heads actually makes your life easier because you can pick and choose your moments probably, which is exciting for yourself. You touched on it before, right? You go back to your rookie season. It's a COVID bubble. Everything's a mess in the world. And you kind of just burst onto the scene. You said it. You start your first game. You burst onto the scene. You're in the WNBL now. How far have you come since then in so many ways? You're going to tell me every possible thing, but what are some things since you rewind to then and you come to now? What are some things you've noticeably I've grown so much in these areas, which has helped me now become a WNBA player?
Yeah, well, first game I distinctly remember because Goals starts me on Steph Talbot, who goes on to win the MVP that season. So got her off to a flying start in her first campaign. I get fouled out in 9 minutes. I remember calling my mum that night. I was like, I'm not built for this. I was like, Goz has stitched me up. Like, this is rubbish. This league is crazy. But no, after that, and obviously too, like, you know how your rookie year goes. You kind of can fly under the radar. There's moments where you don't play well. There's moments where you can go out and have 20 and be like a superstar because you kind of, that young kid, don't let him streaky shooter, like that kind of thing. But I think for me, the biggest thing is just like probably my basketball smartness, I think, has come so far. Like, obviously, you work on your handle, you work on your shot. But I just think, like, as a point guard, that's been something that has evolved. Like, I kind of came in as probably more on the shooting guard side and a combo guard, really kind of could play the two, but now kind of label myself as a point guard. Obviously, like, I represented Australia with the Olympics. I was a point guard for that team, and I think just the basketball IQ thing, like learning how to control the tempo. Like sometimes it doesn't sound like a big thing, but when team goes on a run, how can you get someone open? Kind of being a student of the game, studying the playbook. I think they're kind of things you get away with in juniors and kind of as a person that flies under the radar. But as I evolved, I think just my smartness, just making sure I tune into scout, all that kind of stuff. And then that kind of saw my game, especially last year. I go from getting trapped one game to hard hedges and just being able to make reads and learn on the fly, I think, has been the most important thing for me. So just my ever evolving IQ and smartness on the basketball court, I think, has been the biggest thing.
I was as you were speaking then, I remember watching you play probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I remember I watched back-to-back games, and one game you were incredible. I think you almost had a triple-double. And then the next game, it kind of didn't work out exactly how you'd like. Young, and you kind of played with almost this confidence that could lead you to be an all-star, but also could put you in a bit of a hole of like, well, I've had a couple of turnovers and I've missed a couple of shots.
Yep.
Now, there's two parts to that. There's one part that the confidence is obviously there and you could tell that you knew how to play and you were willing to chance your arm. Now, the next part, as you grow up, it's like, how do I still play with that confidence, but to your point, also control the tempo, find people? How do you find that balance, especially as still such a young person on your own journey?
Nah, that's a really good point you make because, and I think too, for me, like, I allowed myself, like, kind of as a 20, 21-year-old, even to this day, like, sometimes I let a team out scout me. So I think for me, it was like kind of equipping myself to having tools where, like, I know like 2 or 3 reads when they do this sort of defense, when they do that sort of defense. And then too, like, as someone, say you're getting face guard, you can easily get frustrated too. So you can all of a sudden turn over. And I'm a player too, like, I live by the motto, high risk, high reward. Goz hates it, but it is what it is. You can't make a highlight play without, a bit of a risk every now and again. So, but yeah, just kind of like trying to tune that in. Like, I didn't understand like some of my turnovers. I was like, but like I tried that 3 possessions ago, but I didn't understand the meaning behind, we haven't scored in 4 possessions. Like, that turnover is a bit more deadly than the one that maybe you just threw then. So, yeah, for me, it's just like keeping that confidence, but also kind of adding to my basketball IQ, adding to the smartness and not letting teams take me out of something, building counters off of counters. I think that's kind of been the biggest challenge for me because, simply like a couple of years ago, like if you took away my right to left crossover, you put in a drops I was scouted out of the game. So if you didn't figure that out, I was going to have a good day. If you did figure that out, I could be the worst thing that my team put on the court, and I may as well sit on the bench. But just trying to never lose that confidence, kind of build off of counters and stuff like that. And then just making sure I am best prepared by watching film and stuff going into games. I think that's kind of been a big thing for me, and something as well, like I'm still young, I'm still going to see a lot of scenarios, and just making sure that's ever evolving I think is important.
No, that's awesome. So recently in a story on basketball.com.au with our own Hayley Wilds, you spoke about the first time you've felt you belong in the WNBA. Now, I understand what you mean by that, but there's a lot that wouldn't. Tell the people, what do you mean when you say you actually felt like you belonged this year?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the WNBA is such a crazy business. The NBA, like the whole, you can get cut at any time, you can get traded at any time. Like my first 2 years in the league, I kind of was like living on edge, and I don't feel like I could ever be my full, authentic Jade Melbourne self, because one, you're trying to like kind of fit in, find your place. And two, you're just trying to stay on a roster, right? Like I obviously got the full experience. Like my second training camp in Seattle, on the cusp of the season, I get traded to Washington. It's like you get cut at 11 a.m., you get on the plane at 7 a.m. the next day, you're in a whole different locker room. Like the fact that that's legal is crazy to me. It was such a whirlwind of an experience, but you get to Washington after a rookie year where you weren't great, you play some, you don't play some, you're still trying to find your feet in the league. You get to Washington, you're trying to figure out your teammate's name on the day of the first game. Like it was just a super wild experience, and you're just trying to figure out where you can fit in and hoping you don't get cut, figuring out your role and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until this year where, I really felt like I belonged, because I could finally be me. And I think that was the most important thing. Like I finally figured out like what I could be really good at in the WNBA to help the Washington Mystics team. And for so long, I hadn't felt that. So to finally feel that this year, I played a role. I think I went from 12 minutes a game to 24 minutes a game. I came in off the bench, was out there to probably guard one of their best guards, be an energy player, just try and organize my team as well as get on the rim and pick my moments as well. So just having that role clarity and finally being able to take ownership of that was the first time, and why I said it was the first time I felt like I really belonged in that league. And I feel like now going into free agency in the league too, it's the first time where I'm like, I have confidence that hopefully another team will pick me up, and I can serve a role on whatever team that is.
No, it's cool, and it's the business that a lot of people don't understand, right? Once you move out of juniors, I often say it's different to juniors, because your loyalty as a junior is kind of, I've grown up at this club, I love playing for this club. For me, it was the Bankstown Bruins, and then you get to a senior, and you kind of think, I'll roll in with that same loyalty, and all of a sudden, business decisions gets made. It's not about certain basketball things at times, and it truly is a challenge, especially when you first learn it. And the WNBA is probably, and the NBA is probably the most brutal of business you'll ever see.
It's nuts. It really is.
Yeah, so on the back of that, because I feel like this will come from that league, who's the toughest individual opponent you've faced?
It's a really...
If you need to give me 2 or 3, you can do that, because this is a terrible question.
I think... No, it's a good question. I feel like I can't really say anyone in the last 2 years, because like I feel like I got 2 minutes on them, and like maybe they hit me with one move, and it was kind of like more of a welcome to the league moment rather than like a really tough matchup. I have had the opportunity to guard Caitlin Clark, and she's tough because it's been the first time in basketball where she actually walks over the halfway line. You actually have to guard someone. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. She's unreal, and she keeps moving off of screens. So unfortunately, she was out this year. But her teammate Kelsey Mitchell is just so fast. She can hit you with a hezzy. She is a 3-level scorer. I thought she was really tough. Kelsey Plum's another one, just because her first step is super quick. It's all lefties. Alicia Gray as well. So yeah, anyone with a left hand in the WNBA seemed to bother me a lot, unfortunately.
Or we won't release that bit about guarding lefties.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe that was the case. But no, those 3 off the top of my head, I think they were the ones this year where I really felt like I had to watch an extra bit of film, because they are very tough matchups.
Besides home games, favourite venue in the WNBA?
There's something about playing at Crypto Arena.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be an experience. Just LA, the whole vibe and all of it.
Yeah. Seeing both Kobe jerseys, I think, is a highlight for me too. Massive Kobe.
Agree.
Yep.
Same here. Same
Yeah.
here. All right, let's a couple more, but I want to just quickly touch on the Opals. I said it a bit before, and obviously, the Opals have been a thing forever. Truly achieved great results year in, year out, competition to competition. There's been so much, now that we live in the social media world, there's been way more put into actually showing what that Opals culture is. You're a massive part of the continued success. Asia Cup gold, built on the bronze at last year's at the Olympics. All of it's probably been a whirlwind after being beat by Nigeria in the first game to winning a medal. Take us through this whole experience of that kind of few years of still, once again, only young, but just being a part of that group and experiencing what you probably heard about your whole childhood.
Yeah, I still remember my first tour with the group. I went to an Asia Cup in 2021. Unbelievable, and it's like a childhood dream come true. Like I remember getting my jersey, first time national anthem. Like that's when it really hits you, and it was special. And I think I came into the Opals at a really unique time because they just had what as they claimed, is an unsuccessful Tokyo Olympics. Obviously, a lot of stuff happened with the team. They finished eighth. They didn't even make the semi-finals, and I think that was a really big reset for the Opals. And my first camp was all about changing the culture. It was the first time the sisterhood title came into it. The values came into it. They came up with a statement, and it was really cool because I was a 19-year-old kid just kind of like in this room thinking like, sheesh, like I looked up to all of these girls. This is incredible. Like I've got no idea. I'm not inputting anything. I'm just going to be like someone that absorbs anything and everything and soak this up like a sponge because one, you're just stoked to be in the room, and two, it was just unreal to hear all the opinions of the girls that have been to Tokyo and wanted to see so much change. And that was when Tess Madgen became the captain. And from there, it was just like an ever-evolving thing. They went on to the World Cup. Unfortunately, missed out on that team, but was a massive part of it. They kept me included. I trained all the way up until the second last day before the tournament, and just everything that I was able, like I just knew that's what I wanted to be a part of, and I wanted to be a big piece of it. And yeah, just the whole thing, the way they were able to like really get the nation on board, get a bronze medal and get back to the podium was awesome. And then it was all about doing the same and kind of repeating that at the Olympics. And just the whole lead up, the time and effort the leadership group put into the culture, what it was all about, how we want to lay a path, honor the past, lay a path for the future. It was really cool. And yeah, I came into it in a unique time where I feel like now I have a bit of a responsibility to carry that. But yeah, the Tokyo Olympics was, the Paris Olympics was unbelievable. And like you said, we lost to Nigeria, and for us, it was a little bit of panic. The moments after, we were like, oh, okay, like this wasn't part of the plan. But then the next day, I think because of all the work we'd done in the lead up with the culture stuff, leaning on each other, staying in communication with one another, whether they were in Australia doing the lead up tournaments or we were playing in the WNBA, just constant check in. I think that bond and trust we had was really on show when it came to the next two games, because obviously it was do or die. We lost to either Canada or France. We were out of it. We beat France in front of 28,000 French people, and there was no doubt 28,000 of them were French, and we may have had 400 Australian, this little yellow pack going, yeah, go Aussies. So, yeah, just that whole experience, and then coming in, beating Serbia, you lose to the USA, but then with 11 seconds to go, Madge goes to the free throw line, and you know you're about to win a bronze medal. Like, that whole thing was really cool, and after moments like that, you certainly catch the bug. So I'm looking forward to the next event. The girls won a gold medal at Asia Cup. We're looking to go one better, two better at the World Cup, hopefully in Germany. But yeah, all the work that the Opals have done, it starts from the top. I think Sandy does a fabulous job of, getting the team together. The leadership group then echo that, and all the girls buy in. And if you don't buy in, if you're not a good person, you don't stick a chance in the Opals program. So when you go to the tournaments, it's super special, and everyone's got your back. So it's pretty cool.
Nah, super cool. Next time you speak to Sandy or you're in camp, just ask her how she used to babysit me when I was little.
I'm dead. This is the best. I can do that.
Just ask her that. I've got two more things for you to finish off. Firstly, I need to ask you, because I've seen it from afar, the Caitlin Clark effect.
Yep.
It's a real thing, I think, just from viewing, like the way she plays, like you said. And it just seems like wherever Indiana go now, it's just this absolute like craziness around it, sellout crowds. What has it been like experiencing it, seeing it, just from your thoughts?
It's honestly incredible. Like it is a real thing, and I know last year we when we played Caitlin Clark, we moved to Capital One, the Wizards Arena. So our arena seats about 5,000 people, but we would move to the bigger arena just to play her. 20,500 people there. And we wouldn't see any of those people at our arena for a home game. And it's unreal. Like they say, number 22, Caitlin Clark. This stadium erupts. It's insane. And then it's like, all right, introducing your Washington Mystics. And you forget that it's a home game because the amount of fanfare for her is like outrageous. You're like guys, like we're at home, like get around us. But no, it is really cool. And you see people like more often than not now walking down the street with either an Iowa shirt on or an Indiana shirt or a Caitlin Clark 22 shirt. Like it's really cool. You're seeing more and more people with that. With that becomes more and more people wearing WNBA merch. I think the crowds have lifted since because one, she's brought a name to the league, and two, people have realized the talent that's there now. And now are getting more involved. So now what she does is incredible. I think it's a real credit to her too. Like she's always giving time back to the fans. Like you see her signing autographs where she could just be in the room just getting ready for the game, but that's just part of her routine now. And it's pretty cool what she's doing, and she's doing a great thing for women's sport, and I think it's getting better and better. And you certainly don't want to play in Indiana because it's unbelievable. It's so loud. The whole town community gets right around her, and it's a long night, but it is cool when you win there, and it's pretty silent. So.
I can imagine.
Unbelievable. I think what she's doing is fantastic, and it's been really cool to be a part of that.
No, awesome. Last one from me, and thank you for your time before Braden can wrap this up, is what would be your advice? We all get asked this. What would be your advice to young basketballers, but specifically young girls coming through right now? Because the landscape's changing immensely at the moment.
Yeah, I always just say like work hard and dream big. I think now that there's so many opportunities for girls, the leagues are getting better and better. Like you see two expansion teams coming into the WNBA next season, an expansion team in Tassie coming to the WNBL. Like more and more opportunities are opening up. So like, why not dream big? Like why not have an ambition to play for the Opals one day? Why not say you want to play in the WNBA, the WNBL? I think if you can, aim for the highest possible thing and you fall just short of that, like girls are going to do an unbelievable job. So you obviously got to match that with hard work. But yeah, grab opportunity. Any opportunity you can, grab it with both hands, be a sponge, absorb as much information as you can. But yeah, just continue to dream big, aim for the stars, because I think that's really important because you can now see what you want to be. There's so many great role models in the league and around the world. So yeah, go after it. And if you fall short of that, you're going to do something pretty sensational. But yeah, dream big and let's get as many girls involved in basketball as possible.
Great answers. Thank Jade. And not to take it away from the serious route and from the great stuff you've said, but being at the Bendigo Spirit, we've got some teammates and friends of yours in our team, and I did get some questions to ask you. Now, the first one is, what is your favourite show and why is it My Kitchen Rules?
You know what? I came home from America and everything had started, like The Voice, The Amazing Race, The Block, everything started. So My Kitchen Rules was fresh. Always been a big fan of that. Love to see what people can whip up in their kitchen and what they come up with their restaurants. It gets heated. So yeah, big fan of My Kitchen Rules. Shout out to Polly.
That's actually not from Polly. That's from your Opals teammate, Izzy Borlase.
There's no way.
It's from Izzy. So are you the cooker in your household?
I live on my own, so I've got no choice.
The second one is, now you can probably guess who this is from, is what is your favourite karaoke song?
Favorite karaoke song? It's actually untouched by the Veronicas.
Ooh, that's not what they expected. So
Yeah.
there you go.
What did
I
Polly
actually can't
say?
remember now, which is the sad thing. So I'm going to have to check that in. But she was sure it was going to be something else. So I had to get those two questions away. But Jade, it's been absolutely awesome having you on Cut to the Chase to get an insight on everything around women's basketball, especially in the lead up to the first round of the WNBL this weekend. Now, we wish you all the best. Not too well against the Bendigo Spirit, but it's set to be a massive game against the Flyers at John Cain Arena, and can't wait to see that. But thanks for your time, mate. We really appreciate it.
Nah, no worries. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been awesome.
Welcome back to Cut to the Jase, episode 5. And Jase, what a chat with Jade Melbourne, one of the absolute superstars of Australian basketball at the moment.
No, just a great role model for any kid, male, female, don't care what. Just the way she speaks, the way she loves the game, and I think too the way she plays. Like she said, it high risk, high reward. That's the first time I'd ever really spoke to her about playing, and you can tell in the way she plays. So bright future for her, even though she's already done so much. But yeah, honestly, great chat, and I'm really excited for. I think she's in for a massive year in the WNBL.
Hopefully against everyone else but the Spirit, mate. But looking forward to seeing her, of course. But before we get to your JCU 5 points, I just wanted to touch on some news things around the league. A couple of imports released. Javon Freeman Liberty, mutual release with the Brisbane Bullets. Sad to see him go on compassionate grounds. Has some personal stuff he's dealing with and needed to go home. But and we wish him all the best and hope he's okay. I think that's one of the issues we, like to make sure we emphasise, especially in sport, but in general society. But maybe when people shut down journalists for rumours, they can understand that it comes from somewhere, because those rumours started a while ago. They did come from somewhere. And then Ja'Cory McLaughlin from the Illawarra Hawks let go after that, the first game against New Zealand as well. So some people depart the NBL. Would be interesting to see what those sides do to replace them, Jase.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you hope, like mental health's a real thing. And Pete Hawley actually did a great little piece during the week where he spoke about it. And it's so true. You don't know what people are going through. And we live in an age now where people can get access to you so easily. Like I often tell the story, when I left Sydney, I had a kid send me this message basically being like, you suck, you're a snake, I can't believe you're leaving Sydney, all these things. And I actually knew the kid's parents. And so this is the same kid that would walk up to me and ask for an autograph, one of the very few, there wasn't many that did. But he didn't know the realm of what he was really saying, because when I grew up, if I wanted to say something to Sam McKinnon or someone like that, Derek Ruck, I'd actually have to say it to their face, although I would never hear it. And so we live in this time where we're more accessible and people can say what they want. And so I hope he is all good. But there was also rumours that came out in pre-season that he wanted out, he wasn't really happy, he was asking some kind of questions around different things. And I had a feeling, now, once again, I hope everything's all right, but I had a feeling this was headed this way about 6 weeks ago, and it's finally happened. It's a shame because we could see the talent that was there, and Brisbane need that talent at the moment, but now it goes to them with where they move forward. The guy who's the injury replacement player who we've seen in the league before was arguably their best player on Saturday, if it was Saturday night or whenever that game was against Illawarra. So they got some stuff to figure out. And then Illawarra, I don't know, I've heard he was a great guy, but it just wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right fit. They need more. And I spoke about it needing more in terms of Trey Kell was such a big piece. He unlocked Tyler Harvey last year. He made Tyler's life easy. He unlocked a lot of the group whilst also taking on a massive scoring load. And they haven't found that in response. And also they've been missing, as we know, Davo, but they haven't replaced that. And so I think they know now that, hang on a second, we're about to lose grasp here if we don't make a change and get the right person in.
Yeah, and just on that, just before we go into your 5 points, with the Bullets, I know they are going after a former or recent NBA guy as a replacement. So keep an eye out on that in the coming weeks. But hopefully they can sort that out soon. And all my mail from knowing people within the Illawarra Hawks camp is that Ja'Cory McLaughlin was a great teammate, great guy. It was just the fit that didn't work. So, we'll see what they do there. But we're going into JC5's points from the round of the NBL. Your first point, Jase, you're going to go to one of the few positives for the Breakers.
It's maybe their only positive besides the win, but JPC rolling out and getting 17 assists in a league that's arguably hard to get assists statted in. Sometimes I think we're way too strict on it.
We know those counters, mate. We know those stat counters don't like assists here in Australia.
No, they're often far too harsh on what is an assist and what isn't. But for them to go out, they needed a win. He had 17 assists. He unlocked a lot of people. And although they didn't carry on the second game and take care of business, for him to break that record in a 40-minute, especially in a league like ours, when you think about the guys who have come through who can really pass the ball, that is an achievement and something that should be recognised.
Second point, you're going to go to a familiar team, Melbourne United, with their import trio after 2 big wins, one in Sydney and then at home against Cairns.
Yeah, I had to talk about them because they've gone 2-0 again. And I saw them live on the Wednesday night against Sydney. And I was really not worried, but United have struggled in recent years with no Shea and no Chris Golding. They've really struggled in terms of to compile wins. And I thought going to Sydney with Sydney now another week of KD training in amongst that roster, coming off a win, I was like, okay, it's going to be a tough matchup. But I just watched a great team, not only their imports, but their 3 imports. Just the way, like, Walker controlled the game, Milton Doyle picks his spots. I remember at halftime, people kind of saying, well, he hadn't done much. Comes out at halftime, has 10 or 12 points. The lead's now 10 points. United go into 3/4 time up 10. And the big fella, like, just the way he controls the paint and just plays off the rest of the group. I just think they're a big 3 as to why they can win the comp. And I'm not even talking about your Finn Delaney's, your Chris Goldings, your Tanner Krebs, your Dash Daniels, everyone else that slides into that. It's just a scary roster. And right now, they're quickly separating themselves from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, huge. And we mentioned it last week. I think this year the biggest thing is they've got their trademark United defense on top of an offensive juggernaut as well. So going to be really hard to stop. Third point, you're going to the big fella for the Perth Wildcats in Cairns.
Yeah, Perth are searching at the moment. You can see them searching, trying to figure things out. They're changing rosters. They're moving stuff around. Jaron Riley's finishing games. I just thought JLA was their marquee signing. I don't care who else they've got. JLA was the big signing. He's your local. You're paying him a lot of money. And to go to Cairns and be in one of those grind of a games again, and for him to just come out and put a performance like that and have 30 points, really efficient. It's great for his confidence, especially being back in the league, but also great for Perth in terms of just that output from someone that they were going to rely on heavily to win games.
Yeah, huge from JLA. And fourth point, you're going to go to Sydney's defense on Bryce Cotton. Now they go into Adelaide against the undefeated 36ers, do an absolute job on Bryce Cotton, only 7 points. What did you see from their defense?
They were just locked in. Now, obviously, they'd used this whole everything surround KD going to Adelaide and everything that had been transpired, which had been built off one person. But anyway, they used that though as a group. And Gorge's press conference, my dad loves watching press conferences because he really likes picking apart coaches who kind of just fluff their way through it. And he thought Gorge's point of, someone asked Gorge, do you dance around this or do you just address it? He goes, no. We walk into the fire, we take our gloves off and we say we're here to fight. And it was something along those lines. And I thought, when Dad spoke to me and then I saw it post, I was like, that's why Gorge is who he is and why he's got such a thing. He knew that was an opportunity for their group to basically challenge them, as in, where are you going to go right now? When everyone's looking and there's all this build up, where are you guys going to go? And where they went to was how Gorge has won so many titles. We are going to shut you down and take you away from what you do well, and you're going to have to beat us another way. And then off the back of that, their offense was actually better. But I just thought they had a great job. They took Adelaide out of what they wanted to do, which has been centered around Bryce. And Adelaide's got some work to do to figure out that. Now, they'll be all right. They'll make some adjustments. But Sydney's defense and the way they attacked that game, I just thought it was a credit to them because it was easier a weekend. They could have gone 0-2 real quick.
And Gorge, famously known for his speeches too. We know the famous one he delivered after the semi-final loss at the Olympics against US and heading into that bronze medal game against Slovenia, and reportedly delivered one on game day before that game against the 36ers. Just quickly, 1 point from a certain Sydney Kings player that he would have liked to have seen another former 36ers player out there on the court. That would have been interesting to see how that panned out. I'm not sure he wanted to see him on the court, but anyway, Jase, we might leave that to another episode where that person appears on our show, which is still coming, by the way, listeners. It is still coming. Just waiting on some final things in China. But your fifth point, Jase, you're going to head to the Brisbane Bullets.
Yeah, I just to go to Illawarra, a team who has not won a game, who's also coming back from a New Zealand road trip, which is not easy. Drive to Sydney, fly to New Zealand, fly back, drive down. To roll in and just get beat the way they did, it just leaves me asking a lot of questions of how, what. I know you're missing pieces, but the way you performed against Tassie, we've seen signs of and now listen, it also gets harder because people can get scouted, but the effort and the energy, you walked away going Brisbane, lost the game, but you fought hard, you're in the battle, you gave yourself a chance to win. They gave him no chance to win, and the bloke who's probably played the least amount of minutes for any of them across all of preseason, because I think he's only stepped on the floor twice, was one of the only guys who could at least make something happen and finishes with 17, 5 and 5 or something. I don't know what's happening there. I understand injuries. You go through things at different times, but I just thought that was a bad loss, and it was how it looked. It didn't look like just they were losing a game. It looked like there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. And knowing a few of the guys in that group, I want better for those guys, and I hope it's close, but they go into another tough week, and you can quickly lose control in this league because we're seeing it happen really, really quickly around the league where some teams are just starting to separate themselves.
Yeah, just on that, I think obviously there's been some noise around the coaching situation, Jase, but aside from that, as a professional, I think some players after that performance need to take a look at themselves and need to realise they need to get it done regardless of what's happening with the coaching situation. In particular, maybe an import, because like you said, for Lamar Patterson to come in, be one of their best players, but one of their few players that gives maximum effort is really disappointing. And then you head into a week where you're playing Perth and then return home to play United. Got to give the Brisbane fans something more.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke about it before, and I've been in Brisbane. We had a year in Brisbane where I think I had like 5 different coaches, and it was a shambles. And no one saw what really was going on behind the scenes. But I know for me, when I was in that situation, and I can stand here and say this because if you asked anyone that was in that situation with me, all I ever tried to do for the back end of that season, as much of it was a shit show, and that was in the back end, not the start of it, was how do I bring us together enough that we can go out and perform and put on a performance that our fans go, I enjoy going to watch this group, even though it's been a shit year. And for it to be in that stage now, and this is where, look, you can't fully blame the coaching staff because they don't have their full group at their disposal, but it's also where the leadership part stands up. Who's your leader? Who's the guy that everyone's walking behind into the gym? And you can say it's a great way to coach. I'm a big believer, I've said it before, in giving your assistants power. But I think people want to see the man who is the leader of the group stand up and have the guys playing. You can tell when a group is playing for the coach. And we didn't see that on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully they can turn it around. And just quickly before we move on to our tips, we did get an update with the Jade Melbourne favourite karaoke song. Apparently it is Shake That by Eminem. So if any WNBL fans and Jade Melbourne fans get the chance to see her at a game, maybe request that one. But Jade, I'm not sure I want to do this, but we're going to move on to our tips for the week. And after the round so far, you're on 18. You had 5 this past round, despite some bad tips. I only got 3, so it's 18-9 early on. So it's not looking great for me, mate. But even you had some bad ones on the weekend.
Yeah, Wednesday night I was kicking myself because I went away from what I've been doing, and that's just backing myself in, no matter who's at home, who's away. But it also is like it's a tough league. Now listen, your tips, but it is a tough league, and it is each game you walk into. I think like anyone can beat anyone at any given stage.
Now, we'll go through our tips really quickly. Wednesday night, mate, Tassie hosting the Sydney Kings.
It's going to be a great contest because Sydney coming off that Adelaide win, you'd think have an air of confidence. I just think Tassie at home. I think Tassie have figured out a little bit of who they are. Very interested in how they finished the game the other night. But I'd like to think that they've got TJ Starks into the system a bit more and going home. Tassie's a hard place to win. So I'm going to tip Tassie at home.
I'm going to go the Sydney Kings. The other game on Wednesday night, Perth hosting the Brisbane Bullets. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to go the Perth Wildcats.
Perth Wildcats.
Yes, we'll move on from that one. Thursday night, Adelaide hosting Southeast Melbourne Phoenix.
Just a quick shout out here. Nathan Sobey's 300th game, which is a massive achievement. And Sobes is someone who hasn't done it the typical route. Like you see a lot of people come through the COE AIS program or state teams. He was just from Warrnambool, never got picked in any of those teams, ends up going through the college system, finishes at Wyoming, comes back as a DP for Cairns, wasn't even a rostered player, and then ends up in Adelaide in kind of that year where Creaky got injured and Sobes just ended up shining. And then from there, the rest is history. Turns into an Olympian, bronze medalist, multiple All-NBL teams. He gets a bad rap at times. Shot selection this, shot selection that, and whatever. And Sobes knows it. But the one thing that people have to understand is, and for me, as a competitor going to water every night with Sobes when I was on his team, I knew that he was going to take some bad shots. But I didn't care because I knew how hard he was going to play and how much he wanted to win. And sometimes you love those people on your team because you love the way they go about it. And I knew every single night, I didn't have to question if Sobes was going to show up. I knew he was going to show up and I knew he was going to play his ass off. And sometimes it would result in him taking good or bad shots, but he was going to try and impact the game in any way possible. He was going to rebound, he was going to play hard. And that's why I loved playing with him. Yeah, we didn't win heaps of games and we weren't incredible at times. We had some rough things go on at the times as well, but he's just competitiveness and how he goes about it is why he's got so far. And whether he plays another 20 games, 50 games, 100 games, whatever it may be, how he's conducted his career and how he's gone about it is something kids should look towards because it truly shows it doesn't matter where you are as a kid. You can be an elite 14-year-old and you won't make the NBL. You can be an average 17-year-old and you end up playing 300 games in the NBL. And I'm not saying Sobes was an average 17-year-old. I'm just saying everyone's journey is different. It's how you go about it. It's like Jade said, you take your opportunities, and he's done that. And I think it's worth noting because it's not your just prototypical 300-game career.
And just quickly, I know he was athletic in the NBL, but Sobey, fresh out of college, playing for the Ballarat Miners in the Seabull, was another type of athleticism. So people, if they can go see highlights from back then, it was incredible. And like you said, Jason, amazing career, an Olympic bronze medalist. That's something no one can take off him apart from
one person who did it once and gave it back.
I had to say that. Anyway, who's your tip?
My tip now is Adelaide. So,
congrats to one of my best mates.
Well,
your 300th, I'm tipping the Adelaide 36.
Well, if story on this too, this is going way longer than it was supposed to, this tip section. But me and Sobes used to hate milestone games because I felt whenever one of us or someone had a milestone game, we'd get our ass kicked. It was like this thing. I think I had my 300th, it might have been my 300th, in Tassie in the hub when it was all a shit show. It might have been my 300th. And it was one of the worst games. We got absolutely hammered. I remember Dre looking to me in the game with about the start of the fourth quarter. Do you want to even go back in? I was like, I will if you want me to. He goes, nah, just sit there. So me and Sobes hate milestone games. It's like the classic, can we talk about it after? So I'm just going to roll with tradition that I hope he wins, but I'm tipping Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm tipping the 36ers as well. Friday night, New Zealand hosting the Jack Jumpers.
This is a tough trip for Tassie, but I'm going to go with Tassie.
I'm going to go Tassie as well. Brisbane hosting Melbourne United. I'm going to go United.
United.
Saturday, Cairns versus Adelaide in Cairns.
I'm going to go with Adelaide again. Cairns often bounce back at home, but I think they've got a few injury issues they're nursing, and one of their main players might be not playing at his best for a reason. So I think that hurts their group, and I'm going to go with Adelaide.
Any more insight on that one, Jase? No?
Well, if you watch someone shoot free throws in their game against Melbourne, it looked rather weird. So
That is true. I did see that. Sorry. I'm going to go the Adelaide 36ers as well. Southeast Melbourne hosting the Illawarra Hawks.
this is another big game, but I'm going to go with Sobes will win his 301st game. And he'll beat Illawarra at home on Saturday.
I'm going to go the Illawarra Hawks. And then Sunday, we've got two games. Melbourne hosting New Zealand. I'm going to go United.
United to beat New Zealand, yep.
And lastly, Sydney hosting the Wildcats.
I am going to go, because I think you're going to go the other percent. I'm going to go Sydney.
Why was I going to go the opposite?
Because you tipped Perth to win at the start of the year.
That's right. I did. I think they got some issues to fix at the moment, Perth. So I'm going to go Sydney in that one. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully I can work my way up a little bit. But that's all we have time for on Cut to the Jase. A massive episode. Thanks to Jade Melbourne for her time. And, of course, thanks to you, Jase. A huge weekend. The start of the WNBL. Another big weekend of NBL action. And we've got the NBA starting to happen too now with the preseason, then going into the start of the season, which we will start to cover when it's the regular season as well. But a massive episode, mate. Thanks to yourself, and look forward to next week.
Big weekend of basketball, so looking forward to it. Thanks again.
See you listeners next week.